A great group of people here who actually represent three very different approaches to video and to TV. And we're going to start by giving a little sample of each. I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves by way of who they are, but also queuing up some visuals for each of their products and the ways in which they're using video. So go ahead, Adam, start us off. This is Adam from Freshly.
Hey, how's it going? This works? Yeah.
Yep.
Those of you I haven't met, I'm Adam Gassman. I oversee growth marketing at Freshly. And for those who haven't had Freshly and haven't been bombarded with a digital ad from Freshly, Freshly is a chef-cooked, ready-to-eat meal delivery service, weekly subscription. We do all the work for you, so no matter what's going on in your life, you can come home and be 3 minutes away from a healthy, tasty, and fresh meal. It's hard to compete with that. Moving on. So for us, it was not always easy to kind of find the sauce of what was going to get people to buy. And I started at Freshly December 2015. We were testing a variety of different offers. We even tested giving Freshly away for free, and that CPA was actually higher than when we offered a discount. So that's how bad it was at a point. So as we were testing, we started to really pivot to video. I came from a background previously to Freshly of kind of viral mashups that were really taking over Facebook and driving organic growth. So it's how could we take those learnings and bring it over to Freshly? And so for us, we really focused on video. And the first thing was to develop a new way to do unboxing videos. You go through YouTube, unboxing videos traditionally were like 5 minutes long and really boring and showed you the YouTuber's house and everything in it. And the truth is, like, you don't really care. You want to know what's in the product. You want to know whether it's good. You want to know what it looks like and that it's not all done up. And so we were going to created this formulaic unboxing video that was very UGC-like, and it worked. Not out of the gate, but as we looked at our videos as a formula that we could iterate in scenes rather than in concepts, we were able to scale significantly and lower costs, but also produce videos at an efficient cost. As a small, somewhat bootstrapped startup, we needed to be able to leverage video without having a massive budget. Another key thing that we used to drive video was to look at our customers for advice and look at their pain points. What was really bothering them, but what was also driving them to go to Freshly as a solution. And we thought about video as a formula, and it was constantly developed and iterating. One of the things we realized about a year in was all of a sudden they all stopped working. Look deep into the insights, it was everyone was dropping off at 5 seconds, but the 5-second part of the formula was pretty similar for all of our videos. So we switched the beginning to highlight the meal in the beginning of the first few seconds, and that was a game changer to get everything working again. A key aspect of our acquisition and video strategy stems from my previous experience attending law school and how we had to write essays. And if any of you were unfortunate enough to attend law school as well, you also had to write essays this way. And so it's kind of like this IRAC, issue, rule, apply your rule to your set of facts. And so for acquisition, it was identify a relatable customer pain point that everyone can relate to. For us, it's, coming home too tired to cook dinner. For sometimes it's struggling to eat healthy in the everyday life and everything that's going on in your life. And so that is the start of our formula. And the next part is highlighting your brand as the solution or as the option that is making that problem less burdensome, and making it less of a problem. It's something that you're not as worried about. And then it's also using human psychology and the fear of missing out, and that with limitation, that you need to take action on this now or miss out. And so what got us really excited about TV, and unlike everyone else on this panel, we haven't done a lot of TV for a couple of reasons. One is we're a capacity-constrained business, unlike other people in the room, in that we can do as well at marketing as possible, but sometimes actually have to pull back because we can't produce unlimited meals. We can't produce unlimited product. We wish we could. And so what we did is we got excited about TV. A couple of things that we did on digital really informed how we thought about TV. One is our customer pain points and what was bothering them. And we thought about this as when we thought about TV creative, in that what is the emotional trigger that is driving people to buy Freshly and will hook them into that commercial spot? Because the likelihood is everyone who's watching our commercials is doing so with their mobile phone or their computer right next to them and isn't really paying all that much attention. We also thought about what performed the best from direct response video. The key other area, as we thought about day parting and days of the week we would advertise on, we looked at our best performing days on conversion by channel and also the best times. We also looked at our interest and affinity audiences to think about what channels we should be advertising on. And then we're good.
Now, Uli's working in a radically different channel, and this is going to be really interesting.
Hi, my name is Uli Haslacher, and I'm the founder and president of More Skincare. We are a very disruptive brand. We do skincare differently. We actually changed the application of skincare. Instead of applying it per skin type, which is the conventional wisdom about skincare, we are applying it per climate you are in. So the idea is when you are in Palm Springs, in California, you need a very different skincare than when you're in Miami, where it's hot and humid, or you are in New York, where it's really cold. And so it's a different thing. So we went on the shopping network. I traditionally come out of direct response, did everything from short form to long form, and I used the shopping network all the time. In the skincare industry, the last couple of years, it has become more complicated with claims, with the FTC coming more after the brands. So I, on purpose, created a brand that is very storytelling, so we can stay a little bit away from the claims. Tatcha did kind of the same with the Secret of the Geisha, where it became a very storytelling brand that goes into other aspects of health and and how skin works and all the different ways where you don't have the claim of one magical ingredient that does nothing of what we try to tell the customer it does. So, I found home shopping in the last 25 years that I have been involved an extremely valuable place to test because you don't have to pay for the airtime. So you get a real idea about, strong call to action that you then can take and use into your retail strategy, or even I found it now for your online branding strategy. So that's me. That went on October 30th was our second time. We launched the brand late 2017. What I traditionally do is I test, and not in the United States because QVC and HSN is way too valuable of an airtime. You have to sell right away out of the get-go quite a bit. So 10 years ago, you could really build a brand on QVC. Today, you really can't. So what you do, very successful shopping network brands such as IT Cosmetics, I don't know if anybody's familiar, but they were that overnight success. They really were not an overnight success. They were 3 years before in Canada, doing home shopping in Canada, and really learned their pitch. So once they moved into the US market, they went on home shopping, they went on retail, they did online, they did DRTV infomercial spots with Guthy-Renker, and within 5 years, they were sold for $1.2 billion, which I think was never done before. But they got all their learning out of Canada. So I have traditionally gone to Canada or to the UK for home shopping to test before to go to the US or do anything else to understand the female consumer a little bit better. So we made a lot of changes from the August 21st when we went on the first time. We did okay to not so okay. We made a lot of adjustment. In October 30th, we sold out within minutes. We blew out of the inventory. So it's a very interesting approach. So Steve was saying to kind of, share what they are looking for. So TSC, looks for a new brand that goes on a themed show, like this is a show about beauty, Hello Gorgeous, you don't have your own branded show yet, so you get 30 minutes part of a 2-hour show, and they're looking for $500 a minute that you kind of reach that goal. When we blew it out, we were at $1,055 a minute, so we were out of inventory half of the time, which is very, very unusual, and we tried to do it very differently. So February 25th, I'm just, we're in Toronto, and we did something we should not have done, but it just was too good of a chance to say no, but we should have said no. The shopping channel was so excited about it that they immediately gave us a rollout for 4 hours, getting our own branded show. And we did again, okay, so we go on again, but I'm literally gonna go back into Hello Gorgeous to test a little bit more. We were not ready for 4 hours yet to do it. Also, what I learned was so interesting, and then I move on, is I never wanted to be the talent because I'm a behind-the-scene person my whole life. And we always, have hired celebrities to either bring an audience or having, lately you hire experts like makeup artists or dermatologists. And so in our case, we hired the beauty director from the Dr. Oz show. There was a beauty editor as well with Women's Health for many years, very professional, knows a lot about beauty. We got her on, and it didn't really do very well. And because today you get from Facebook on Shopping Network, you have hundreds of people respond right away on Facebook what they like and what they not like on the home shopping. It was very interesting that a lot of people felt they want to have the founder. So today, authenticity is so important that I'm going to show a little clip, and you can see how terrible I am, and still it sells. I mean, it is unbelievable. No, I really had to bring this.
Only here do we have brands sharing their worst moments on stage.
Do I have to click?
Yeah,
yes,
I think
the
click
green
and
button.
it'll start.
Yeah, so this is the online presence on the shopping network. It really does help you to, our traffic has tripled on our website, but that is actually a TSC website. They do a very good job of helping you to educate the customer, and you're very, and that's the same thing with QVC or HSN. So what also happened is then when we went the first time on air in August, which is the same in the United States as well, once you're on a shopping network, you get the attention of the traditional press. It's a large skincare or beauty retailer. So we got Hello Canada, which is kind of the People magazine of Canada, and they put Pourmoi right in Meghan Markle's face. That drove a lot of US sales as well. She's so popular. Then fashion is, the #1 magazine read in Canada. We were in, we got on the Fuse list, and many other things that are coming your way with testing on a traditional home shopping network that do help create credibility for the brand. And
so let's show the embarrassing clip.
Yeah, and now comes the embarrassing clip.
Oh,
No,
we don't
we
have
sent
the
the
embarrassing clip? I'm sorry. We're going to... Which is also embarrassing. Okay, right. Now, we're the embarrassed ones now. It's back on us. We will try to get it. Okay. We will try to get it so we can show it sometime during the next few years. Let's move on to Herb. I've got a zillion questions about home shopping, but Herb, you've got truly a unique product.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I was actually just informed something. You have those clips. Oh, you have our clips? Are they also embarrassing? No, not at all. So, because they don't feature me. So, just a quick show of hands. Who's familiar with Fracture? I mean, you guys familiar with the brand? Well, good. TV works to some extent. So Fracture is a pretty interesting brand, and I got to say, I've worked for a lot of different companies. Are we playing the clips now? Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. So.
days. But what about the slow days? The sun rays, the PJs. It's easy to let the details slip away. So use Fracture to keep your memories around. Simply upload a photo you love and get a beautiful glass print delivered straight to your door with everything you need. Sometimes there's no occasion at all. Just a moment we don't want to forget. Fracture. Focus on moments that matter.
And do you have the second one? All right, great. Yep, not a challenge. No, it's okay. So Fracture is a photo decor brand. I had the pleasure of joining the team in 2013. I am the longest standing employee there now, outside of the founders. And it was a fabulous concept. I came into a company, and anytime coming in as chief marketing officer, you want to make sure a few pillars are there for a company. And Fracture, at its core, had so many things right. They had a great, unique value proposition. Nobody's printing on glass. I don't think anybody's really thought to go down that road. Our founders took a chance, and what they really needed to do is get proof of concept. And I joined in October 2013, and something pretty magical happened that same year. We were featured on a show on the DIY network called I Want That. And a lady decorated her apartment, a little brownstone in New York, with fractures. And wow, the web traffic and the response was incredible. So immediately joining the team, what I was asked to do was go out and try to find a way to replicate and grow that channel. Coming from almost 20 years of digital experience, digital marketing experience, I was a little out of my wheelhouse there, going after TV. But we engaged with Sandwich Video out of LA to put together some really emotive branding spots. What you saw there was our second one that we just produced last year. We have another spot that we produced with them, and very non-hyperbolic, basically great branding ads for Fracture. What they did was create a very compelling ad, and what it did, the creative really assumed the intelligence of the buyer, very non-hyperbolic, and we ran that thing as much as we could on DIY. Fast forward several years, attribution really took off from a TV perspective. You had Convertro, you had odometry come into the space, and we got very good at being able to understand TV and really understand how to optimize day parts, different aspects of that. And essentially what happened is that we realized to a certain point that this was a real growth channel for us, that we were able to supplement with all of our digital channels. And our media spend has grown significantly since then, and we're pretty excited about seeing what we can do in the space.
So I'm curious, so did you find a way using back-end attribution metrics to solve the problem that Adam had with the supply chain and keeping up with supply? Because this is not an easily mass-produced product.
No, and so similar to what Adam was talking about, Fracture is an on-demand manufacturing product, which, as you can imagine, with seasonality, we get into times and spaces when literally, we can't make the product fast enough. We try to ship everything out within 48 hours of when it's ordered, but we really have to manage the spend on the front end and manage the traffic on the front end to make sure that we don't outpace production. And for a small company, that's been a really fun challenge, but we've really been able to do that through using a lot of good attribution tools and seeing what's working, and then sort of tailoring our spend based on seasonality.
Is this mainly linear that you're buying, or are you also doing OTT?
Great question. So yeah, Because we take a very evidence-based marketing approach. We have to measure everything. In OTT, as most of you probably know, that's very hard to do. So we stuck very, very specifically with linear.
How are you going to, Adam? How are you going to come back at TV now? With what you've learned, and how are you going to take the digital video learnings and apply it to your TV buys?
Yeah, so I think same as Herb. We'll start with linear, and I think we will want to have some OTT within that mix. But until we're spending significantly more money, it won't make as much sense for us where we're at to devote resources to OTT. I think we share the concern also in how attributable Hulu and other OTT devices are. And the early signs from TV were...
But they're not more targetable?
They are, but it's also from our concern would be it's not as attributable for us to understand exactly where our dollars are being spent and how they're converting in the same way. And I think, as we look at TV, I think we look at TV as the biggest channel for us by the end of 2019.
So Uli, I really want to drill into this channel because we rarely talk about shopping channel. Explain to us how the economic, first of all, do you have, let me ask the same question of you, do you have supply issues when you're on the shopping network?
Well, we sold out, so
right.
we didn't have enough inventory. So, but normally...
but that was a genuine sellout. That wasn't a made-up sellout.
Yes.
You actually did sell out, and then you've got a supply chain problem.
Well, one of the advantages of home shopping is that you don't really have inventory problems because it's all very planned with airtime.
Right.
The home shopping network knows their consumer, knows their business very, very well. So it is all planned out, so you can much more organize your inventory accordingly. It's very different than retailer. Because in retail, your product might move or might not move, seasonality and all of it. In the shopping channel, you really don't have that. They know exactly at what time they sell how much per dollar. And sometimes you do too much, but that's
well, how much do they share
case.
for you? I'm curious, because you mentioned that you had a lot of learnings about selling points and what was working and not working. How granular are the metrics that you get back from them? Are you really, within that, say, half-hour span, are you really seeing ebbs and flows of sales that correspond with what your narrative is at a given point, so that you're actually seeing in sort of the same way you can see with digital video where people are dropping off in a video and where you're getting interest? Are you? Yeah. What do you get from this channel in terms of back-end metrics?
And when they don't ring, you see in the green room, you see exactly. I'm on TV, so I'm not seeing it, right. But everybody else sees it. As well, on home shopping, you have a little thing in your ear, so the production team is constantly telling you what you just said, repeat it again. So they give you, they direct you throughout your appearance of what key points have the call of action was stronger than on other key points. So you keep on repeating what sells the best.
And
it's a very, very responsive medium.
And they share that data with you?
Yes.
And in terms of sharing customer data, that customer then becomes your customer?
Well, no, it's the home shopping's customer. But in today's world, all these customers go on your website because it's much more research.
Well, are they becoming the retail channel then? And are they sort of the go-between, or do they hand any of these customers over to you?
No. These are their customers. But because they go on our website, we then target and retarget them. So once they go on our website, we kind of, they are accessible for us.
How is this different from direct response TV? Because you've been in both media.
Well, it's a retailer, so that's different. The shopping network buys the inventory, and so it's less risky for the vendor than if you have to buy the airtime and you have to gear up for some kind of inventory. You actually literally sell that inventory, but it's kind of your responsibility to sell it to the consumer. So you have to bring the talent, you have to do the sales pitch. It's kind of becoming your direct selling to the customer, but you are surrounded by a retail environment. They buy your product. if you don't sell it, then they're going to ship it back to you. But that's like every retailer.
Herb, tell us a little more about why you're not using OTT and why you're relying so much on linear. I know you're seeing some metrics on the back end. There's also a tremendous amount of targetability that's available in OTT. You're able to get into places and nooks and crannies with audiences that you wouldn't otherwise serve. It would seem a natural, especially for a product like yours.
Yeah, so to be clear, it's not that we don't want to use OTT, but honestly, we just haven't been able to crack that nut in a way that's extremely measurable. We've also found that when we ran tests with OTT, it creates a certain amount of noise, and it almost challenges the accuracy of our attribution in linear. So we have to find a way to do it, while we. Maybe we do it on a weekly basis, and we run linear 1 week, we run OTT 1 week, but we're trying to figure out how to crack it. But what happens when you run with linear TV is that you have very measurable traffic spikes. So our attribution platform that we use, TV Squared, they create a dynamic window of time. It might be 8 minutes, it might be 12 minutes, and they look at that spike of traffic, and then they're able to attribute it back to TV with a certain degree of confidence that was the source. Now, there's a lot of traffic that comes in after that we don't even consider. So we know we're only measuring a certain percentage of our TV traffic. But based on that, we're able to gather a lot of data. We can and not only measure visits, that's a primary measurement for us, obviously, and we look at cost per visit as a primary metric for our performance team in that channel. But we look at which channels drive the most uploads, which channels drive the highest quality for actual transactions. So it's a pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting way to measure this offline channel.
You also have a very limited range of creative, and that's a choice, right?
Yeah. So it's a choice, but it's also a function of being bootstrapped and and trying to make the most what you have. There was a really great book written on TV advertising called Reality in Advertising by a guy named Rosser Reeves, and somebody turned me on to it, and I read this book, and it was incredible. It sent an incredibly powerful message. And the really interesting thing is the book was written in 1961 or published in 1961. So, true to this day, like all of our data, all of our results really mirror what he talks about in this book. And he drives home this message of building powerful memory structures around like this core creative. And our creative is not direct response creative. It's very brand driven. So our very first creative we did back in 2013 was sandwich video. It was something we ran, and the results were just there. And focusing on a lot of different channels and a lot of different creative with a fairly small marketing team at the time, we just decided to let it keep running. That creative you just saw, we put out last year, and we've now tested this creative, just simple A/B split test on linear TV, on YouTube, and on Facebook. And honestly, it just gets crushed by our original creative time and time again.
Do you have a sense of the customer journey?
Good question.
Since you're hitting them so often, and with the same creative, do you have a sense of how many touches this really takes and what the nature of what the conversion cycle is really like?
It's very short. It's very short. From what we can gather, we do. I mean, obviously, you're looking at a huge swath of data, and customer journeys are all over the place and incredibly complex. But what we can gather is most people finish their orders within a week. So the customer journey is fairly short, at least on the front end. It involves social, and we leverage TV to do a lot of retargeting. We leverage TV. We use modal pop-ups when people hit our mobile site, timed pop-ups, of course. We do exit intent pop-ups, and literally with our TV audiences, we have like a 17 to 20% conversion on a modal pop-up to get an email address. I've never seen anything like it in my career as a marketer, having those kind of numbers on just interruption modal pop-ups work very well. And the retargeting ads that we fire out, across all of our social channels, they perform very well as well.
Adam, you have a different approach. Tell us about your creative approach.
So I would say we try to test as many creatives as possible. We also work and partner with Tube Science, which is a creative video agency specializing in Facebook and Instagram. I would say that we probably test on average, just looking at paid social, close to 100 different video iterations a week. And when I say video iterations, I'm not saying 100 very different videos, but in thinking about it at the ad set level, an ad set will have 5 or 6 different ads, and the truth is there's not all that much of a difference in between, ad A, B, C, D, and E. It's slight tweaks in the copy, it's slight tweaks in how it starts, how it progresses, how it ends, where the CTA is. To get learnings, it's also testing messaging. What's going to resonate the most and with who? And so that provides us the learnings of what are the messaging tempos for us kind of also as a brand that can inform us to understand what is succeeding and what is not, and what are our hypothesis on why people buy and rely on Freshly versus why they don't. I think we initially said some things of what we thought the brand was, but in our heads, we thought that sounded right, but the numbers and the metrics and the insights all said that wasn't why. And so I think traditionally it's how can we test as much as possible and get as much learnings. I think sometimes it does make the brand team uncomfortable that we never send a video ad back to get it redone. We just put it out there. And our reasoning is that, look, it's going to be out there for a short period of time, and we're going to get learnings. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll just kill the ad and move to the next one.
Are you, now how much of this would you consider branding, and how much of this is you're really optimizing against the bottom of the funnel, and you're optimizing against conversions and sales?
Yeah, so I would say little to nothing that the growth team does would we say is a success based purely on awareness. We're reporting our numbers daily, weekly, and monthly across the board, and if we ever sent an email that said, hey, CPA went up 100%, but awareness also went up like 600%, that anyone would be happy. I think we just get, say, hey, go work on the brand team now.
Well, as you're contemplating a TV strategy, does that change at all?
No, and I think Freshly has no problem in creating demand. So I think, look, we want to have a very diversified channel mix. So we're not as reliant on Facebook as we were 2 years ago. And as Facebook went through these fluctuations of problems, so did our CPAs. And so that's where we pivoted to have more of a reliance on direct mail and affiliate marketing and other, more traditional channels. And I think we still look at TV as a direct response conversion driver. The good part is Freshly isn't a high AOV product where you're sitting there, you're contemplating it. Someone once told me that I think Peloton has 40 interactions on average before you buy a bike, which makes sense. It's over $2,000. Freshly is nothing like that. Most people who interact with Freshly buy so within 1 or 2 interactions and buy so within that first day. Could we do a better job of identifying why those group of people who are buying 28 days out don't buy right away, and how could we address that? I think that's something we're looking at as we move through 2019.
I want, since Uli and Herb, since you're relying so much on TV now, I wanted to talk about how this offline presence is tying to your online. How are these media driving people direct to you? How are you devising and working on your online strategy, online creative, the flow of the customer to match up what you're doing on TV and capture that online?
So for us, we are kind of similar like Adam. We are learning from our online, on TV experience of what is missing on our brand, or what the consumer actually, when they see Pour More, what they want it to be. So it's the complete opposite of what we heard yesterday from Francis Ford Coppola, who has a very single vision and is implementing it successful. By us, it's 360-degree the opposite. So what we found on TV, and now we are, and then we kind of tested online with our social media and website, was that our consumer, because we are climate-specific skincare and the only one that exists, that our consumer always immediately assumed we had to be very climate conscious. Automatically, even we were not going into this, pour more means for me, we were more educating about how skin behaves in a climate. The consumer kind of overrode it, and it started on Facebook completely about, you know, are they shipping any plastic in their boxes? Is the paper completely recyclable? Are they using mixed paper? So it's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this before. And so I'm happy with it. You know, we had to kind of really start doing things differently because our consumer sees us as a very environmental, cautious brand. Even we didn't come out at this at all. We didn't think about it because it's a controversial subject, so we tried to stay away from it. And it's completely different. So one of the things, skincare is it's a sampling industry. You send samples out. What we realized is we had to stop it immediately, and we wrote out and said we stopped our sampling process because this is what, you know, really kills the ocean, all these little plastic tubes that really nobody needs, because if you buy it online and you don't like it, you send it back and get your money back. So that should be your trial. We shouldn't send millions and, you know, of little, you know, single-use packages out, and our sales went through the roof.
Are you seeing, is the home shopping buyer,
yes,
are they, when they see your brand, are they coming to you, do they really just want to buy from that channel, or are you seeing a reasonable bump at your site from people coming off of that and investigating?
A very big bump, because they are doing the research. As you said, today online is all about research, and people not immediately buy. They go on their Instagram, they go, you know, while they're watching TV, they go on their phone and check out that vendor's website. And they want to see who you are and learn. So what we do then, we retarget them, and we're trying to get it, before we invest in a big branding campaign in the United States, we're trying to get it right to understand our consumer and our brand better. That's pretty much what it is.
Herb, how are you harvesting that attention on TV and bringing it online?
Harvesting the attention?
Well, how are you treating that flow? I mean, what are you doing to connect the TV to your online experience?
So, you know, wanting to take somebody on a real brand journey and really connect with them at a brand level is pretty important to us. So it obviously starts with modal pop-ups that I talk about. We want to make sure their initial experience is a good one. And with 70 to 80% of our traffic now coming to our mobile site, you know, you have to focus on mobile first. So once we get them into the flow, we retarget. But what we've been able to learn is that at that point in time, with the credibility that you generate from being on linear TV channels, what they're really looking for is that third-party feedback. We test tons and tons of Facebook creative, tons of Facebook ads, and the ads that we're seeing really early on in the buying cycle that perform the best at that point are customer testimonials and or UGC-type content. So getting them into that flow from introduction to fracture, they've made they're engaged enough to make a visit to the mobile, and then, you know, hitting them up on Instagram with some kind of UGC content or some great testimonial from somebody who looks and feels like them has been a big win for us.
Fascinating. We have time for questions? This group? Right up here. Sorry, we got one back here, and then we'll get to you, I promise.
Excuse me, Tim Moran, Cheetah Digital. Great panel all, thank you for the insight. Uli, I had a question specifically for you. So you mentioned that you had certain revenue expectations when you're on the shopping network, but the question was, did you see a bump in website traffic? And the answer was yes, because people do their research, they want to see what kind of a brand that they're purchasing. Do you then, because of that revenue requirement on the shopping network, incentivize customers to leave your website and then go back to purchase from the shopping network, or are you just as well with them purchasing directly from you?
No, we have a link that goes directly back to the shopping channel. In Canada, we don't do anything else yet other than the shopping channel because it's all about learning for us at this point. But then eventually we're going to do Amazon Canada and we're going to do Shoppers Drug as the retailer.
One back there. And then
Well, we have,
Hey, guys.
promised her. I promised
you
her.
promised her. Really? Wow.
will
Okay,
have
hey.
time. She was-
Here you go. Oh, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Sorry. Okay, he promised you.
We will get to you too, I promise. I'm making promises.
Hi, I'm Erica Barnes. I'm with A&E Networks, our data-driven TV targeting. So, Adam, you mentioned that you guys look at TV as a direct conversion, and Herb, you said that your attribution window, you're looking down to 8 to 12 minutes. I'm curious to know what your reasoning is behind viewing TV as a direct conversion, like viewing it that quickly after a view, as opposed to looking at as an incremental reach and awareness.
So I would say well, twofold. First would say is we don't look at it as TV went on and we expect conversions now. So we do look at it as an incremental benefit to branded search, to Facebook, and to other channels. But when we judge the success or failure of a TV campaign, it is going to be done on the CPA based on our attribution. I think there's the reason behind that is right now we don't have a demand problem. We don't have a long user journey. We don't need to map out first interaction through eighth interaction and be thinking about it that way. I think if we launch different product lines with higher AOVs, and now one product line has a 7 touch point, then I think we start looking at TV for that product as improving awareness. But in Freshly's current existing model, we have to control demand. And so in controlling demand, adding a top of funnel channel for awareness isn't really necessary at this particular time. And I think that's what drives our thought about it.
Yeah, TV is expensive.
Okay, all right. Well,
And TV is an expensive channel. So
we'll go.
Thanks. Hey guys,
ahead.
I'm Nick Hill from Simul Media, and we are a TV advertising solution provider. And my question is about inventory. How do you guys select certain networks or day parts or programs to ensure that you're reaching your target audience on TV?
So good question. So we work with a really great media buying agency, and we don't buy remnant. Like we buy, they're buying big blocks of content from a wide variety of channels. So we've never run into an inventory issue. But that's just us. That's our personal experience. Now, when we do buy, anytime you place bids on TV media, you never get 100% of your bid. It's like most other channels. But what we've seen is we generally settle in around 75 to 85% of our buys, so we can plan around that.
We are going to talk about this at the roundtable. I think it's going to be a rollicking one because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to TV and video. Guys, thanks very much. That was fun.